Okay, so this presentation is called Capturing the Essence of a Vigil, the Power of Videography in the Animal Rights Movement, and How to Increase Your Own Impact. Who's behind the lens? It's me. I'm James. A little bit about me and kind of my background is when I was in uni, I started shooting professionally with photos, and I started basically just taking people's pictures for beer money, which was sweet. And that kind of led into a career as a portrait photographer in Hawaii and a couple states in the US. And that kind of got me really interested in the photo side of things. Back then I was not vegan, I was starting to kind of think more consciously about my decisions, but nowhere close, to be honest. And then I actually quit that job to travel for a year through Latin America. And that is the trip that kind of changed everything for me, and I'll actually talk a little bit more about that at the end of the presentation. But when I was backpacking up through Bolivia, I went vegan. I had kind of like a really intense experience inside of a market. Once again, I'll go into this after. And that kind of like immediately changed me into not only being vegan, but also wanting to do something for the vegan movement and knowing that I could use perhaps photography or something that I've done, maybe with graphic design or something, to kind of further this movement and increase my own impact. So what I started doing was doing photography sponsorships for vegan restaurants. And so I would go to vegan restaurants. It turns out there's a ton in Latin America. There's so many. I got to work at one point with the first, right when I went vegan, I sent out a bunch of emails, and I worked with the first ever vegan restaurant in Bolivia, which was super cool, in this little tiny place called Sucre. And yeah, so that's kind of what I started doing. I did that in Latin America all the way up north and moved over and did the same thing in Europe. I've worked with about 100 vegan restaurants now, and so what I would do is I'd just take pictures of their food. They would always feed me, so it was kind of like a little back and forth. It was sweet. And then more recently, I started filming for Vegan Around the World, the series, which is a 5-part documentary series all about veganism. And what it's doing is trying to change the public's perspective on what it means to be vegan. I'm really tired of new vegans going into restaurants and feeling ashamed to ask for vegan options. I think there shouldn't be this negative stigma behind the V word. I think it should be something that we're all so insanely proud of, and that we have just love rushing out of us that we're vegan. How incredible is it that we had the opportunity in this life to be part of the less than the 1% of people on this planet that have kind of found out about these industries and are now, the group here included, fighting actively against them. So I think we should feel so proud of being vegan, of the fact that we found this movement, and in a way too that it found us, and we should feel very lucky and fortunate. So now I'm actually full-time working as an activist with Vegan Around the World, the series I've been filming since February. Had my first tour stop in Barcelona with Seb. And then now it looks like I'll be finishing up with Israel in December or so. So yeah, that is that. Sorry, I'm also about to go on tour with the Save Movement, and so I'm filming for Save, and the Save Movement is also working on their own documentary called Bear Witness, and so I'm doing a portion of that on the live export trade. Right now in one port out of many of the ports that are shipping animals into Israel, in Portugal, they are shipping about 300,000 animals every single year across the ocean, and the conditions that the animals show up to be put on a ship is already atrocious, and so you have animals bleeding, animals with their horns just decapitated. It's a really, really terrible thing, and those are the conditions that they get before they even get onto the ship and go into the ocean. These are not seafaring animals. Of course, you can only imagine the confusion that they go through when they're being put onto a ship in the ocean. And so the plan for that, actually, that portion of the documentary is to go is to basically film one of the vigils that they do in Portugal, and I will then travel to Israel and document the unloading process. The animals go into quarantine, they're in terrible conditions, and then they go to slaughter. So question is, why video? I grew up as a photographer. I've had a camera in my hand for ever since I was about 10 years old. My grandfather gave me my first camera, and ever since then I've kind of been hooked, but it was always photo. I kind of would take little skate videos with my friends and things like that, but I never really took it seriously. So why switch? I believe that video is the medium of our time. When I was working on a sustainable water project, I think it was about a year ago in Spain, and the leader of the project at one point, he told me, he was like, James, your photos are great. I think they could have a really big impact. But if I was vegan at this point, and he was actually vegan as well, and we kind of started talking about how our own activism could relate to each other. And he told me, he was like, if you really want to get serious with your activism, you have to switch to video. Video is the medium of our time. That's why I have that quoted there, because I was so impacted by that statement. And if you think about it, the way that we see the world is through video. Photos are a beautiful, beautiful thing, but they're a snapshot in time. When you're seeing something that's a video, it's the same way that we see with our own eyes. Our eyes shoot at 60 frames per second, and so does video. So it's one of these things where it's relatable, it's real time, and the ability to capture an audience and to capture them, emotively is really, really, really powerful. And also, when you think of viral media, it's almost always from a video's perspective. So few times, maybe on Instagram now, that's changing things, but even still, when you go onto Instagram and you see the videos that are, or the content that is viewed the most, it's usually video. When you see things that have 20, 30,000 views plus on Instagram, they're usually videos. Videos are more easy to be shared, and that's something that Lena and I learned very recently with the video that we had go viral. So there is one trick to make an AR animal rights video go viral. Just kidding, there is no one trick. That was tricky, but sometimes you do get lucky. I'm gonna play a video. So I'm gonna play the video that recently happened to Lena and I, and that is the slaughterhouse video that we captured with Vienna Animal Save that overnight, I'll tell the story after. But you can watch it. It's only a minute long, so we can watch it now. So we got back from the slaughterhouse that morning. That was actually my first time ever being inside of a slaughterhouse. Let me just get set up here really quickly. Sorry. So we got back from the slaughterhouse about, I think, 8 a.m. We arrived at about 3 a.m. in the slaughterhouse outside of Vienna. And Lena and I, we got back to our parents' place where we were staying for the week, and we were both very exhausted. And Lena said, could you really quickly just put something together that I can throw on Instagram? I said, of course. And I got one clip that was about 3 or 4 minutes long. I cut it down to a minute, 3 little sections, didn't think anything of it. We went to sleep, woke up 6 hours later, and the video was at 100,000 views. And we thought, what the hell is happening? So later that day, it was it was a weird day. It kept growing. And from the series, I filmed with both PETA and Mercy for Animals, I guess everyone knows PETA. I don't know if everybody knows Mercy for Animals, but they're a large air organization based out of the US, but they're international as well. And I sent PETA a message. I have a connection to PETA who helped me set up the filming for them when I was filming with them earlier in the year. Her name was Jamie, and I said, hey Jamie, we have a video that we just made, and in like 6 hours it got 100,000 views. I don't know if you guys want to look at it and see if maybe you'd like to share it on your page. That would be awesome. And she said, James, you'll never believe this, but it's been circulating around the office the entire day, and we're sharing it at 4 p.m. That was some crazy shit. So, by the end of the day, I think it had close to 600,000 or 700,000 views. Lena was getting more friend requests than she knew what to do with, and messages, some of them creepy, some of them okay. And it was crazy. You know, the weirdest thing about this is like we didn't sit down after this Vigil and think to ourselves like, oh my God, there's so much good footage, we can go viral. It was something completely unexpected. So those were a couple of the organizations that shared it. Of course, the Save Movement shared it, PETA, Mercy for Animals, Greenpeace, Free From Harm. Free From Harm actually did their own little feature on it, and that's sitting around 200,000 views now. The comments were probably the most inspiring part of any of it. And with any viral video, you're of course gonna get some haters, and we waded through our fair share of plants have feelings too and bacon emojis. Some of my personal favorite comments were, sorry, first you caress her and then you leave her there to die. You're stupid, question mark. Interesting placed question mark. Next one, how cute, she strokes the bacon. Would you like some scrambled egg with it? Bacon emoji, egg emoji, smiley face emoji. However, we saw far more comments that were deeply inspiring and profound, including Sarah said, I have stopped eating anything pork. I'm so sorry for these animals. Please share this with everyone you know, and they know to stop it as well. Now, Sarah, if I have a message for you, I would say, of course, pigs are incredible, but so are cows, fish, chickens, and sheep. Why don't we consider giving them a break as well? But we all know that going vegan is a journey, becoming active is a journey, and so it's one of those things where we have to be patient with people. If we could make her give up one kind of animal and start the thought process of how will she continue, it's a good step in the right direction. All right, that's it. I'm going vegetarian, said Samantha. Good enough. I like that. Keep it up, Samantha. Next one was, I still eat meat, but with every passing video on here, I eat less and less. I hope to ditch meat soon. I hope you do too. I didn't write a name down there for that one, so we're going to say Benjamin. Thanks, Benjamin. I hope you do too. The other thing that was really cool is that it's hard to tell exactly what is happening with this, but so many people were tagging their friends and family. And so you never know if they're tagging vegan friends and saying like, hey, check this out. But with the amount of comments we were getting, over 2,500 comments on Facebook and over 25,000 shares. This is just on the original video that came from Instagram from Lena's page and was posted onto Facebook. None of these numbers include any of the other views that were shared on Instagram, things like that. 25,000 shares on Facebook. So it's clear to see how something goes viral. You get a couple people interested, they share it, and then people share it off of that. But I think the ability for a video, even as simple as this, to really impact a lot of lives, so surprisingly, was a huge surprise to us as well, but also very, very humbling and inspiring too. So, why did this video work? Well, we don't really know, but here's some thoughts. I've spent quite a bit of time dissecting this video. I know that we watched, I don't know how many times we've watched that video now. Like every time we'd get a comment or something on it, we'd open it and of course it would play. I would say a couple of the reasons it worked so well is because it's A, short. It's under a minute, it was easily shared on Instagram and easily viewed on Facebook. With shorter videos, it's so much easier to grab someone's attention. I'm gonna go into video length in just a second, but under a minute I think is really, really key if you're trying to get a video viewed a lot of times. People don't enjoy sitting there and watching a long video, they just don't. So a short video usually will get shared more quickly. Also, there was no introduction to the video. So when someone's scrolling through their Facebook page, what happens is they immediately see a girl and a pig. There's no music coming in, there's nothing like that. It's raw footage. It's just a girl sitting with a pig, and it's not a pig being slaughtered. So someone can sit there and say, you know, they'll at least take a second to look, because it's not something that makes you push back. It's a girl sitting on concrete with a pig, like what the hell is she doing? And so I think a lot of people, their interest would be kind of grabbed from that. The other thing it does is combine human and animal interaction. Sorry, human and non-human animal. I always get that mixed up. That's actually a really big thing, because so often when you think of the most viral videos out there, a lot of them do actually combine the story of a human and in the way it interacts with a non-human animal. If you think of, I know there was like a farmer in the UK who was originally farming cattle or raising cattle, and he went vegan and now he sold his farm. He was vegetarian before actually. And so it's one of these things where you can add the inspiration of a human story with a non-human animal story. That's not right. Anyway, the other thing is that there was no camera movement. It was very still, and there was also a cut to the animal much closer. And so what I was doing is I was actually in the exact same spot for the entirety of that film, and I just zoomed in, and then in post-production I just cut it so that it went from sitting outside of the animal to being cut closer to it. And when you cut to something, and you can do this with a phone video too. That's the other thing. I realized this was shot on nicer equipment than a phone, but at the same time, you can do a lot of these things by yourself. And that's something I want to talk about later as well, is how important it is that we all at least are kind of doing our best to create high quality content, because that is the stuff that's going to be shared, it's going to be seen by more people, it's going to affect more lives, and it's going to save more lives. So yeah, still camera, I was kind of like rooted on the ground, just sitting just like this with Lena kind of in front of me with the pig, who I believe was a male, I don't know. It was a girl, okay, excellent. The other thing is that there was no music being played over the video. It was very raw, and so I think that can also keep people's attention because there was slaughterhouse footage. You hear pigs screaming, there was slaughter happening at that time. That was, maybe not, it was a little bit early for that. But regardless, there was pigs screaming in the background because there was a second section to the slaughterhouse that had like, I don't know, another 100 or 2 pigs in there. The other thing is don't forget about luck. You can throw 1,000 videos onto Facebook, onto Instagram, and even if the quality is absolutely superb, there's such a good chance that no one's gonna see them, or a few thousand people will see them. That being said, this could have had something to do with the time that we posted it. It could have even been as simple as the kind of people that were on Facebook during this hour of the day. The complexities of the Facebook and Instagram algorithm are things that people try and figure out all the time. It's useless. They're smarter than we are. So, moving on. So the perfect AR video, what does it do? The perfect animal rights video will capture the attention of the audience while also forcing them to connect with the subject. What is our goal? It is to make the viewer feel something, anything. It's to make them feel an emotion and ask, what is that I'm feeling? It's strange. I don't like it. As activists, that is why we are here. 2 different lengths of videos. Short videos, of course, just like the one I just played. 1 minute or shorter, there's a greater chance of it going viral. The thing about a short video, though, is the impact that it will have on individuals is lower. It's something that, it'll make people give up pork, for example, or bacon the next day with their sandwich, but the chances of them making the connection of, oh, I'm going vegan right now because of a short 1-minute video is smaller. So these are the videos that get people thinking. They see a minute on the screen and they say, oh, that's uncomfortable. I don't like that. What can I do against that? Perhaps. However, a longer video, 3 to 5 minutes, up to full documentary length. These are the ones that change lives. These are the ones that changed my life. I know a lot of people here as well. I saw Cowspiracy back in the day, went vegetarian overnight. I remember I was already vegan when I saw What the Health, when I saw Earthlings, and those inspired my own activism. So these are the ones that can really change lives. Even a 3 to 5 minute video can have this impact. The other thing about a longer video is that you have the opportunity to kind of add a storyline. I'm going to play a longer video later, just so that you can see what you can do throughout the Vigil process to kind of document and create a storyline behind it. And the long videos are the ones, as I mentioned, that change lives. So, super quick. Short videos usually focus on 1 or 2 subjects. You want to keep them really, really, really simple. They can have raw footage, and you don't need to over-edit them. You can have, as we saw with that one there, a couple of cuts, and you can change the focus on them, or the focal length. So you can, even with your phone, you could be sitting here taking one, move closer, and then in post-production, I'll show you at the end a couple of free applications you can download for your phone that will allow you to make like really simple cuts with things and just kind of improve your editing game. What you want to do is quickly get the message across. Once again, 1 minute length that allows you to, as was done with the Vienna Animal Save video, you can post it to Instagram and share it to Facebook, and it won't cut or anything off of Instagram. Okay, so I'm going to play, we already saw the Vienna Animal Save one. I'm going to play a recent video viral that was from the Save movement. None of the ones that I'm playing today will be graphic. You may have already seen this. This is in Suffolk. "17 seconds. If you stayed for 17 seconds of that video on Facebook, it doesn't matter if you are vegan, vegetarian, or not even interested, something inside of you is going to say, I don't like the way that looks. That is what a 17-second video can do. It's been on for 3 weeks at 125,000 views, 3,500 shares, 500 comments. That's huge. That doesn't include the other people that have shared it. In only 17 seconds, you can elicit that feeling from someone. Sorry. Longer videos. The beauty of longer videos is that you have time to cultivate a message. You also can include music, interviews. You can, while you're at a vigil, talk to the drivers. You can record the audio even if you're able to do that. And you can also show a lot of like human emotion and just more complex things within the storyline. You're also going to be able to show a lot more details of the vigil, and this, once again, can take the place of interviews, things like that. The other thing is that you'll have the opportunity to focus on more than one subject in the slaughterhouse, whether it's trucks, regardless of what it is. You can focus on a minute or something like that on one animal, and you can add that to a 6-minute video. A 6-minute video is going to have plenty of opportunities to add 1 minute of basically the plight of one animal. And so really quickly, I just want to play the full trailer length video. It's only, I think it's 2 minutes. And this is actually from that exact same night. And this is the Vienna Animal Save. Yeah, it is 2 minutes, 30 seconds. So that was the full video. You can see that is a little bit different. You kind of have the time to cultivate a story. You can see that we started in the beginning of the morning at about 2 a.m. And it's a storyline of us driving to, sorry, let me just get sorted again. So you can see that the storyline behind it is more, I think, would be more attention grabbing for vegans to try and get them active. It shows how powerful a vigil can be. It shows how hard the activists are working and kind of what they're doing towards, of course, animal liberation. But it starts, at the beginning. The first shot is these 2 shots of the clock ticking. I remember I was in Lena's home, and it shows that it was about 2 a.m. This is, this shows a group of people who are clearly very dedicated. It goes throughout the process of the entire vigil, and actually the timing of the video is as it was at the time. It kind of starts when we first got there. There was about 10 pigs in the main area, and then it continued throughout the day when they were unloading trucks and bringing them into the slaughterhouse. So it kind of increases in intensity as well. So here are a couple tips to up your photo and video game. For starters, the eyes, of course, are the window to the soul. So anytime that you are taking pictures or videos of an animal, it's really, really important to focus on their eyes. This is something actually that I've talked to Anita, and she kind of has like little guidelines about how she'd like, in general, say videos to be conducted. And that's one of the biggest things she wants, is to not have so many like rapid fire images of animals in trucks. What you really want is the opportunity to take 30 seconds of footage with a single animal, so that the viewer has 30 seconds to like look into this animal's eyes and really, really consider themselves in that position, hopefully bring out some empathy in people. Yes, and yeah, sorry, that's Anita from the Save Movement, the founder of the Save Movement, and she wants us to focus more time on singular animals, individual animals. Another big thing, and this actually relates a little bit more to when you're at a sanctuary as opposed to a slaughterhouse, is to get on your subject's level. And this is something I actually learned as a portrait photographer, is that a lot of people would see the pictures I take, like, of their kids, for example. And like, I'd go out with families on the beach, we'd play around and stuff like that, and I'd just take pictures the whole time. And so when I was with their kids, the most important thing you can do is always get on the child's level. And that's a good parenting thing in general. Whenever you're telling your kids something, not that I have kids or have any idea what I'm talking about, but you should get on their level and kind of talk to them in their eyes. And that's the exact same way that you should take photos of them. The same thing goes with the animals at sanctuaries or even at trucks as well, as you should always try your best to be on their eye level. So if you're shooting with a cow, for instance, cow is going to be pretty much on your level, large cow. But a pig, you should get down. And this goes to whether you're talking about shooting with an iPhone or a $100,000 video setup. You should always be on the eye level of the subject. And this goes for basically taking pictures of any subject. Keep your camera steady. That's really important. It's something that, of course, goes without saying. But even when you're taking phone videos of like a Vigil, it's so important. You can kind of get into this stance where you're almost locking your arms in a little bit and holding your phone. If you have a DSLR or another video camera, steady footage is so important, especially one more thing, this isn't related to Save, but when you're filming outreach at various outreach events, the most important thing you can do is, especially when you're shooting with a long lens, bring a monopod or a tripod. A lot of people now are buying these cheaper like stabilizers for even phone cameras. That helps smooth out footage so much. And the biggest thing about this is, please remember that when you're taking footage, the better the quality, regardless of what you're shooting on, you can always improve the quality of any footage, regardless of what you're doing. You can improve the editing, you can improve the way that it was taken, the style that it was shot in. And the way that you do this is to kind of get back to the basics and make sure you're improving each of them step by step. And remember that every single time that you improve the quality, even a notch, that increases the chance that the video is going to be seen and shared more frequently. A couple of things you can also do, and I'm going to talk about this at the end in a couple slides. You can learn about the basics of cinematography and photography. It's one of those things that practice makes perfect, but there's so much opportunity to practice. Every weekend you can take your camera, your phone, whatever it is, and you can go out to a Vigil and you can do what you can to make better and better videos. So there is really the opportunity to practice. And of course, one of the biggest things is that everyone that's about to come in, please feel free. Yeah, come on in. And there's a bunch of seats. Yes, okay, so the basics of photography, cinematography, there's so many things, but they're all available online for free. You can do like a simple free photography course. You can learn about balance, repetition, the rule of thirds, all of these really simple things that will actually make you a better videographer or photographer. eBay is a lifesaver. I don't know if this applies so much in Europe, but I know in the US, I buy almost all of my gear used for two reasons. It's so much cheaper, and it's better for the environment, because you don't have to be making all this equipment again. You can just buy used. You can do the same thing with phones, all this stuff. eBay, I believe they have it in Germany. They have a couple different types of these things. I've never been let down. I've been buying used gear for years. Lenses, bodies, everything like that. And you can get a really well put together like DSLR shooting setup for a couple €100, like a used 7 or 8 year old DSLR. It's really not that expensive. I realize to a lot of people that would be expensive. That's a lot of money. But at the same time, if you have the money, upgrading your gear is almost always a worthy investment, especially if you look to what it's going towards. Another thing that I've personally struggled with, I did this a lot when I was traveling, is I would let so much of my time be taken up taking photos that I would forget to kind of be in the moment. And that's a huge thing we struggle with now, especially our generation, is with cell phones and generations to come. We need to, while we're live streaming and things like that, end the live stream and then take 10 minutes. When the next truck comes in, spend time with the animals. It's so important that we are personally affected. It's clearly very important as we're sharing media, whether it's live streams, whether it's photos and videos, that we're getting those out to people, but it's also so important that we don't forget why we're going. We don't make it about us, which is so easy to do. It's so easy to focus on Instagram numbers, as I have done many times, and it's something that we really need to stay rooted in what we're doing. And an easy way to do that is to just put the camera down for 10 minutes at every vigil. Now, if it's a vigil where you have one truck coming in, get your camera out, get some footage. But if you have 30 trucks coming in a day or something like that, like tell yourself, like actually set in your mind, all right, I'm gonna give 3 trucks now, just the animals, just me and the animals. I wanna connect with them. I wanna remind myself while I'm here, I wanna give myself the opportunity to look into the animal's eyes like I was gonna give to someone else. You need to take that to yourself as well. It's very important. Really, really quickly, for Instagram, it's good to shoot in vertical, so hold your phone vertically. The reason for that is you actually have a I looked this up last night, 24% higher engagement on photos that take up almost the entire screen in vertical, as opposed to landscape or as opposed to even the square. Square is in the middle, landscape is lowest, and the reason for that is because it fills up more of the person's screen. You know those beautiful things you're scrolling through Instagram and you get this like beautiful, almost full page, you're like, wow, that's a cool photo. So, vertical for Instagram, horizontal for Facebook. Next slide. Okay, perfect. Oh, you guys are on point. Okay, equipment. Never forget about the importance of your humble cell phone. As cell phones get better and better, so is the footage they can grab. Quality audio is so important. You can pick up just online, you can get a lavalier mic, which is actually what I'm wearing. They're called lavs. And you can get one for about 20 euro, if not cheaper. You can connect it to someone's phone, pull up your voice recording app, and then you can just put the lav on them, and then you can sync the audio with the video that you're taking in post. Anyone that's curious about that, I can talk more after the conference or something like that. But getting audio, especially if you're doing interviews, so important. When I first started filming for the series, everyone that I was talking to was saying, honestly, the video you're getting is great. Make sure, though, spend so much more money, time, and investment into getting good audio. Because if you think about a lot of the documentaries you've watched, a lot of them use footage even from like the 60s and 70s. You know, not necessarily AR documentaries, but documentaries in general. They use footage that's dated, it's scratchy, it looks weird. Doesn't matter. It tells a story still. Bad audio will turn people away immediately. You can get a used DSLR and also some like older lenses on used websites for quite cheap as well. A couple of free resources. Free music sources. There's one called Moby Gratis. That is actually the artist Moby. He will give away, he has like 150 different tracks on his website, and they're all free to use for any AR purpose as long as it is non-commercial. The second one is Incompetech. This is a guy based out of the US, does free, really nice cinematic music. Also, you can search no copyright music on YouTube, and that will get you a ton of results. For editing, there's an iPhone app called Splice. Also, I will post this to the page when we're done, so you can have it on there. Splice app, really easy, simple phone recording. Same thing with iMovie if you have a Mac. And photography and cinematography, photographycourse.net offers like some of the basics about photography I was telling you about. And then on YouTube, there's this guy, Peter McKinnon, who you can follow, and he does a lot of really cool things that, I have 2 minutes, is that okay? Okay, Peter McKinnon, super cool guy, does a lot with editing. I'm about to show you the 2 pictures that changed my life. The first one is from Bolivia. It is a little graphic, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. The second one is in Ecuador, and I will kind of just tell the story behind them. And the reason I'm doing this is because I also want to show how profound a photo can be. And I'm not saying that we should give up photo and only do video, because photo is so dear to my heart, of course. But that I just think video is a medium that's better represented in our society today. So this was in a market in Sucre in Bolivia. This is the picture that I took and then immediately decided I was going to get active. The reason behind this is because that looks exactly like my dog's nose that I grew up with, Colby. And I remember seeing this, and what they do in Bolivia is they actually they slaughter the animals in these markets, and then they put the heads on tables so that they can show off how fresh the quote-unquote product is. I took this photo and immediately knew it was going to change my life. I remember editing this photo and thinking, like, I have to find a way to support people who are ending this and give my own, life to ending this as well. The next one is far more upbeat. This is Christopher. This is my favorite picture I've ever taken in my entire life. I met Christopher while I was on a 4-day trek in Ecuador, and the importance of this is to show the image before this is dark and depressing, but I remember taking this photo with Christopher, who I hung out with for 3 hours, and everyone outside thought I was the weirdest guy on the planet. But I remember thinking to myself, thank God for this reminder that this is what I'm doing this for.